Welcome. Welcome to the Law, Your Money, and You. I'm Roberta Saphire, an attorney in Sharon, Massachusetts. And
I'm Camille Barron, a healthcare advisor and financial organizer, also in Sharon, Massachusetts. And Roberta, even though our show is seen all over the country and in other parts of the world, today we're going to be talking about the history of our great town here in Sharon, Massachusetts.
yeah, not only our history, but I think what gets our history and how it can even involve other towns, cities, states, and if it does have the same thing in other countries, although other countries are older than we are. But I want to welcome back Dave Martin and Shirley Schofield, and they were on our show almost 10 years ago. And they brilliant, wonderful people, and they're still part of the Historical Commission and Historical Society. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And to start off, there's so much here. I'm not even going to say tell us a little bit about yourself, but you were here and you were both part of the Sharon Historical Commission and the Sharon Historical Society. Let's start off with what's the difference between the two?
The Sharon Historical Commission is made up of people who have been appointed by the selectmen to be on the board for 3-year terms. We have 8 people. 5 of them are the regulars and 3 are alternates who will participate if one of the regulars is not there.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say, Dave Martin, you were one of the original. You've been on this a long time. How long have you been on the Historical Commission?
I've been on the commission for a little over 20 years. I'm not an original.
Yeah, that would have been make you 200 years old or something.
Yeah.
Huh?
And I am not an original one either. The board was formed in about 1970 when the state wanted people to have a local historical commission.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a group who were voted in, as I say, about 1970.
Were you voted in?
A group of people that became members of the first historical commission.
She was not on the first.
Oh.
And how about the society?
Yeah, what's the difference?
The Historical Society is a private dues-paying organization made up of people who want to learn about the history of Sharon. We have close to 400 members right now. Yes, and we have, as I say, we have dues. We have 4 quarterly meetings per year. We have board meetings every month. We are very, very active, and yes, we would like to preserve the history of Sharon, just as the Historical Commission does too.
Yeah.
So Dave, can you tell us what is the purpose of the Historical Commission?
The Historical Commission pretty much looks after the historic structures, houses in town, the cemeteries, the old cemeteries we oversee, even stone walls, which is actually considered a structure.
Really? Stone walls? There are a lot of stone walls.
There is, yes. So if any one of those, a historic house, which if it's over 100 years old, it's automatically a historic house. If it's on the survey that we have of inventoried houses, it's considered historic.
Oh.
So most people just think of real old houses over 100 years old, but if a house has a certain architecture, it could be considered historic if it was unique in some way, or possibly somebody famous lived in that house. It may not be 100 years old yet, but could also be considered historic.
Can you give an example of a historic house that somebody famous lived in?
where Leonard Bernstein summered, he summered here in Sharon on Lake Ave, 17 Lake Ave, I believe it is. So that could possibly be a house that's not quite 100 years old yet, but I would consider it historic because of
Oh, isn't that
that he
interesting?
lived there.
And Shirley,
Fascinating.
what can you tell us? What is the purpose of the Historical Society?
To preserve the history of Sharon.
How is it different from the commission?
Well, we're a dues-paying organization where the commission is not. They're appointed by the select board.
Excuse me, can people be, like, you can join the Historical Society just by paying your dues?
Yes.
What about the Historical Commission? How do you have a voice in that? How does a person have a voice in that?
Yeah.
Well, we have meetings, official meetings, just like any board, kind of like planning board, zoning. And so we have meetings that can, open meetings that can be attended by the public.
So you say by the select board, what does the state have to do with this? Do they give you anything like?
The commissions and the historic districts are, we go under the state laws, Chapter 40C, Mass General Laws, Chapter 40C, regulates all the historic districts and historic commissions in the state.
Do you get grants for some of the stuff you do?
We
Right.
we've gotten grants before for some of the surveys we've done on the historic houses.
Who do you get the grants from? The state or the
That was from the
town?
State Historical Commission.
That's
yes.
fascinating.
And we also have gotten CPC money for certain historic projects.
CPC is the
Community
local-
Preservation,
Oh.
CPA, Community Preservation Act, and the CPC is the Community Preservation Committee who oversees that.
Yeah. Shirley, do you ever meet with other historical commissions from other towns or other states?
Not any longer. Years ago we did.
Oh.
We had a group from the South Shore area, which we would meet maybe with 3 or 4 times a year.
Really?
Right.
That was before my time. The commissions don't necessarily meet. The societies are more apt to get together. Some people are members of, I'm a member of Stoughton Historical Society as well as the Sharon.
Well, wasn't Sharon part of Stoughton at
It
one
was.
time, or vice
Yes,
versa?
yeah, and I grew up in Stoughton, so both those, plus Canton used to be part of
Oh,
Stoughton too.
really?
So all 3 societies are rather close and get together and discuss all of old Stoughton, Sharon, Canton history.
We did just have a meeting with them in January. We met over in Stoughton.
Yes.
Canton was there, and Sharon was represented too. So it was nice to get together and see people from other towns.
So I would say societies get together with each other more than the commissions do.
And you've had some wonderful programs that you put on at the Historical Society. Can you tell us about some of them?
Oh, that's good.
Well, yes,
Good
but we
point.
do have one coming up now, which is a good time to advertise it.
We may not be showing this right away.
Well, I can
so-
tell because people are invited to come on July 9th. We're going to have talking about Frederick Douglass, who gave a famous speech many, many years ago on
Heard
July
of him.
4th. And so we're going to do that again with
Oh,
different
that's good.
people in Sharon taking part in the
That's good.
program.
But you have programs all year round too, just in case we don't
We
get this in
well,
time.
mostly we have them 4 times a year, 4 quarterly
Oh.
meetings a year. And we've had one on Crescent Ridge Dairy because they were celebrating their 90th
Yeah.
anniversary. We've had people from the schools, just so many. Can you remember some of them?
Our business, which we don't have the inn anymore, but we got a historic preservation award for being the oldest inn. the Saphire Inn was.
That's true, yes.
Yeah.
I remember my husband, he told me that his grandparents used to vacation and stay there at the Saphire Inn.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long, when was that built, do you know, the Saphire Inn?
I don't remember
Oh,
off the top of
that
my
was
head.
before the turn of the century. I
Yeah.
did the whole research on that.
But once a
Yeah.
year, we do give someone the Preservation Award, and you happen to get it that year, somebody who has, kept
Yeah.
their
Well,
house or building up and done.
We've had it for 40 years now. The people before us had it for 35. Those
Mhm.
people had it for 35. And then there was originally the woman. I did research on one of the, we got the old Brookfield. Everybody knows
The
Brookfield.
Brookfield House,
The
yes,
Brookfield house.
yes.
And when you did title searches back then, they didn't have a lot on the lake and their house lot. There was one lot. The description goes from the house over to the lake, and it's just how many feet. So it's one lot. It's not two lots. So in a way, when they did the two lots, people lost land.
Right.
But they were part of the deeds, which was interesting, back in 1890 and 1870s. I like that stuff. But it said that they cannot rent anything as a bed and breakfast. Part of the deed was that they could not use it as a bed and breakfast. And the reason being was the person who deeded it was already running that. It was at where the community center was. This is what you say, it's the Sharon. I don't even know if you're aware of this. They were already running that, and they didn't want the competition.
Okay,
Isn't that interesting?
It
But
is, yeah.
they purposely put it, and then I don't know if it was amended or was part of it, for a period of at least 40 years or something like that. Of course, that was 1870. So I thought that was interesting, because that whole area by the lake was owned by one person,
okay.
one company, and they did that. See, I did history too.
But
Well,
Cer-
certainly,
history.
that period of time, shortly after that, Sharon became a resort town with a lot of inns and,
That's because too, also in those years, there was no highways. You got along. I remember when I was a little kid, we lived in Dorchester, and my mother used to take a Sunday ride every now and then to Andy, her egg man. And years later, I found out that Andy was in Sharon.
oh, really?
I went to camp in Sharon as a little girl too, where there's a camp now. It was for underprivileged children. That was me. We had nothing.
Well, Sharon was so far out there then for the city people to come to escape, the city and enjoy Lake Massapog and
Yeah,
everything.
there were a lot of them out here. They're here and other towns too. Midway. So I'm sorry, we're supposed to be interviewing you.
Well, I wanted to say that Paul Revere at one time owned the water rights to the lake.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, he lived in Canton, didn't he?
He had a copper mill in Canton.
Oh,
That was run by water power. Where did the water come from?
really?
Oh, came from Sharon?
Because Sharon's high up and the water all ran down into Canton.
That's fascinating.
that.
So, Massapog Brook, which runs from Massapog down to the Neponset River, that's how he got his water
Really?
power. And
That's
he had all the rights to it.
We had somebody on from the Neponset Valley with us,
Yes.
and apparently the Neponset River runs through many, many, many towns.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Don't they?
But years after Paul Revere passed away, and eventually the property was taken over by Plymouth Rubber Company, they owned the water rights. But in 1935, they sold it to the town,
Oh.
Which town?
Sharon.
Oh, Sharon.
Right. And so Sharon has owned the water rights ever since. But the
That's
water goes
fascinating.
down, it comes in by spring, and it goes out through the flume house down by the Rotary,
Oh,
and eventually down to Canton and into the Neponset River, and then eventually out to the Atlantic Ocean.
Really?
were
Yeah.
people able to use the beach and go in the lake when these other companies
Good
owned it?
question.
Yes, we did, and actually, Sunset Lodge at one point owned land there. Morse's owned land up where the community center is now. And I know when I was growing up, the teenagers gathered up there
There was
to
Corman's
swim.
too
Yes,
years ago.
right.
Corman's, Carvins.
But eventually we were asked not to use it, and so that's another long story.
That's
but
behind
anyway,
the community center? That,
we swam there, yes, when the Dubinskis owned it, right. But then later it became, we had to go down to the Beach Street area to swim. And that eventually became used by Sharon residents only. And that was about 1948 or 1950 when that
My
happened.
father's organization used to have their summer picnics where the Green Manor ended up, but it was Corman's at that time with the wooden thing. I still got a picture.
Corman's was another one.
Corman's, yeah. Well, that's Corman's was Carvins,
Cavas, that's correct.
and then the Green Manor.
Right.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, the Green Manor, I don't know what, you know, on North Main Street there, where it's now the school, the Hasidic school, that was part of Green Manor too.
Really?
It's time with the
Was
Shabbat
it Green
Center.
Manor? What was it?
No, that was
The Bell House.
The
Yeah,
Bell
the
House.
Bell House.
Yeah.
The Bell House. Everybody knew if you don't sit at that table because that's the one where the air conditioner will leak on you.
Oh, really?
Because it was a very popular facility. That's true.
You should have been a guest today.
Well, the Bell House had been
Sorry.
a well-known spot.
Yeah, my sister-in-law got married there.
Okay, yes, they had receptions,
Yeah.
but John Kennedy came there to talk one time when he was running for, I believe it was state representative,
Which Kennedy?
John.
Oh, John
John,
Kennedy? Oh,
who became president.
I thought you said young Kennedy.
He was young then.
How old was he at that time?
I don't know. I really,
Probably in his 20s.
right, he wasn't married then
Uh-huh.
anyway, but he used that spot to, evidently he was
Fascinating.
probably invited by the Democratic town
yeah.
committee
Mhm.
to speak here in Sharon. And,
I bet even then the Democrats were tightly knit.
oh, Sharon had
Yeah.
been a Republican town
Oh, really?
for many, many years, yes.
I wonder
And,
how they switched.
well, it depended
That's
on who was
historic.
running for office, I guess.
That's,
Oh, that's very
so
interesting.
funny.
These people that we all know,
Right,
we know
right.
of.
Do you have to follow certain federal laws or state laws or any laws?
Not federal. We come under Chapter 40C
Oh, yeah, it
of
says
the
that.
Mass General Laws.
You know I'm going to go look up Chapter 40C.
It deals with historic commissions and historic districts. So when the town, when they made the commission, decided to have a commission, and when they voted in, well, we have 3 historic districts. So whenever they,
We do?
yes, whenever they vote those in, they automatically agree to abide by Chapter 40C
Yeah.
of the
Now,
state.
now you just retired from, well, 2 years ago. You retired from the fire department.
Correct.
After how many years?
32 years.
Now, did that take you to these historic, how did you get interested in the Historic Commission Society? I know you were one of the originals.
No, I wasn't.
No. Well, we've got to find out how you got interested too. But how did you get interested?
I've always been a history buff. It was my favorite subject in school, and so moved to Sharon, grew up in Stoughton, moved to Sharon, and he got on the fire department, but was looking for some other way to be involved. So there was an opening in the historic commission.
Really?
And I-
Was Shirley a member at that time?
Yes, she was.
Is that how you met her?
I think we had met before.
No, he used to be, he was a member of the Historical Society,
Oh.
and he was a member of our archives
For the while.
committee. That's when we take in objects and write up a little bit of history about them, and then put them away in a box or something, and eventually display them. But yes, but then I believe he found his work schedule was interfering with the meeting time of the archives committee.
It was Monday night, and we had drills at the fire station the
Uh-huh.
same night. So, but yeah, so I guess we met at the society. Although she says she first met me at the fire station when she came in to get a burning permit. And
Did you give it to her?
no, I don't remember because
I
I
just-
don't have the memory that she does even now. So, but she says she remembers me being there, and
He was sitting in a swivel rocking chair behind the desk.
at the front desk.
Right.
So I guess that's where we first met. But the society was where we really got to know each other, and
Well,
then
did you get the burning permit, though?
Oh, yes.
You know, the society.
Oh,
Do other towns and cities have similar commissions and societies?
yes, they do. They do, right.
Are they
Um,
required by law to have them?
Sorry?
Are they required by law?
no.
No, they're not. But the state would like them to
Yeah.
be.
It's the choice of the individual, the commission anyways. It's the choice of the city or town to have them.
Have you ever had visitors from other states?
Oh, yes.
Countries?
Well,
In the society
the Historical Society
Oh,
has.
yeah?
all the time.
And,
Yes.
are they
And-
there to study what you do, or are they just visiting?
Well, they're visitors. They have certain questions they want to ask. Sometimes it's about property in the town. Who knows? Well, a lot of times parents bring their children because many of them are learning about Deborah Sampson,
Oh,
who
yeah.
is our state heroine and our town as well. So it's usually third graders. Actually,
Oh.
this year we've had children from third grades in Cottage Street School and Heights Elementary. This year, Heights Elementary came just a couple weeks ago before school got
Fascinating.
out. We had 2 busloads coming separately. Each busload had about 54
Boy.
children on it. So they come into the museum, and we do little classes or
That's
little programs and
fabulous.
switch them around. Some of them go out to our carriage house while the others stay in, and then vice versa.
For the people who are watching who may not know of Deborah Sampson, can you just briefly tell them about her?
Well, Deborah Sampson was not from Sharon originally. She grew up in Plimpton, and she served in the Revolutionary War,
Dressed up as
dressed
a boy,
as
yeah.
a male, right? And she fought somewhere around Albany, New York, etc.
Her house is right on East Street there.
Well, yes, but when she eventually, she was injured a couple of times, but when she was injured the last time, she was, make a long story short, given an honorable discharge and was left to walk home. And she walked, it says that she walks to Sharon, where her aunt and uncle lived out on Bay Road.
Mhm.
Oh,
And then she ended up marrying Benjamin Gannett, who was a farmer, and raised 3 children,
And
had
he's
an
happily
adopted
ever-
child too.
Happily ever after.
She's buried at Rock Ridge Cemetery. It's the grave site that is visited most
Really?
by people because people come from all over. Anyway, yes.
Fascinating.
Have you been to that one, Roberta? Rock Ridge Cemetery?
Wasn't that,
On East Street at the corner of Mountain.
yeah. You know, it's funny, my son Jonathan was he was trying to be in a movie there, and there was a scene
Oh, really?
at the cemetery where he was talking to the person. It turned out that the person was dead, but they, you know, they were there. Yeah, yes, Rock Ridge.
So
People
I was wondering
today,
if,
there's a lot of people today that it's not just an old cemetery. There are people that are,
oh yeah, no, it's still used, yes.
Yeah.
That one's still used. Shirley, do you want to give the hours for the Historical Society so everybody knows?
yeah.
Oh.
Also, the Historical Society, isn't that a 501c3?
Yes, we
So
are.
People can donate and have a tax
Can
deduction.
donate. Yes,
Yeah, that's
actually,
good,
right
yeah.
now we do have a program going on, and hope people will donate. We're open on Fridays now, from 2 to 4, Saturdays from 1 to 4, and Sundays from 4 to 6.
Boy, how's
Or
that?
by
Yeah,
appointment.
yeah. Or by appointment. Yeah, that was very good and very timely because we're almost out of time. Did you know that? That you came up with that so good?
I saw the title.
Oh, you saw
you
the time?
did.
I was wondering, how did he do that?
Yes.
This guy's fascinating.
You know what my favorite thing about the society is? Well, there are 2. When you have those outdoor, what do you call it, a flea market or
Yes,
a flea market?
yes, we had one last week.
Oh, you did? Oh, we missed that one, I guess, but that was always fun. And then I love looking at the photographs, the old photographs, where you can envision what the property is now, and you look at it, and I love to envision what it was like then, and how it is today, and how life might have been around that property.
That is
It's
interesting. I
very,
like
very
doing the same. Yes,
Interesting.
yeah.
I guess I'm more visual, but
Yeah.
it's great with all those photographs you have there.
Why are a lot of people, they buy a house and then they find out that it's in the historic commission and they didn't know that? What happens? I should have asked that at the beginning.
For what?
Well, I
in
mean,
the
when they say, somebody says, well, I'm doing remodeling.
Okay.
Well, you
Um,
can't remodel.
Well,
Nobody tells them
if
that.
it's in one of the historic districts, that's what we really have a say in, what, you know, people can do to the outside of their house. If they move into a historic district, they probably should know. If the realtor
Yeah.
didn't tell them, then shame on them.
Oh. Well, what
Uh,
if they do? Should the building inspector then tell them?
The building inspector, well, is our agent.
Oh,
So if we see something going on
Yeah.
in a historic district that we were unaware of,
what if it's
say-
just a historic house? The house looks the same, or the building looks the same as the other buildings around
Yeah,
it,
if they
but
pull,
it's-
if they pull a permit, you know, to do something extensive on the house, the building inspector would notify us. He knows it's a older house, and we would
That's
contact
fascinating. That's
the owners.
wonderful.
We have
We have to
been
go.
notified that
Yeah.
it's time to wrap up. We've
Yeah.
run out of time, believe it or
Yeah,
not. Thank you very much.
Fascinating.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed
I
this
didn't like
one.
history when I was in school, but the way that you present it and the things you do make it so much easier, and now I like it a lot more.
Yeah, when you
So
get
thank
older,
you.
you enjoy it more.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you
So
so
we wanna-
much.
Thank you, and to our viewers, thank you for watching. If you would like any more information, please let us know, and we will certainly get that to you. But definitely look into the Sharon Historical Society. It's a wonderful place to visit. Thank you for watching, and please let us hear from you, because remember, this is your show, The Law, Your Money,
And
you.
you.